An unprecedented move during unprecedented times. The CDC is issuing a temporary moratorium on evictions through the end of the year, saying the number of Americans living just one missed paycheck away from losing their homes is a historic threat to public health. But while that order is offering renters some protection during these tough economic times, News 5's Emily Hamilton explains that it's creating new worries for some trying to keep their businesses afloat.
Landlords say this creates a slippery slope long term. This latest move is expected to help tens of millions of Americans who can prove a substantial loss of household income and those who can still attempt to make partial rent payments. The latest order from the CDC states the action was necessary to stop the spread of COVID-19 and prevent renters from becoming homeless or living in crowded quarters like shelters.
This will help families who've been affected by the pandemic, keeping families stable and in housing during this public health crisis.
And in addition to the negative health consequences of the pandemic, a new side effect: confusion following the CDC's new announcement, leading some to believe rent is excused through the rest of the year.
However, it does not take away the obligation to pay rent. You still need to pay your rent.
Landlords like Dana Blair potentially facing a tough predicament ahead.
90% of landlords are usually mom and pop landlords. They just have a couple of investment properties.
The eviction moratorium does list criminal penalties for landlords who evict tenants from now until December 31st, but it does not absolve renters from paying up.
So when you can't generate income because of the government, I think the government has to step in and provide assistance to not only renters, but the landlords.
Blair owns 3 small investment properties in Lakewood and says if a tenant was unable to pay rent, he'd work to find a common ground.
Perhaps they can only pay 3/4 of their rent this month, and then moving forward, when they're employed again, then they catch up.
Melanie Shakarian of the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland says unless this order is met with rent assistance payments from the government,
it's only half of an important equation.
An eviction moratorium is ultimately just prolonging the inevitable.
Without rent assistance to help fund this order, many tenants will face that insurmountable rent burden when the moratorium lifts.
House Democrats have proposed giving nearly $100 billion to renters, and the National Multifamily Housing Council has said they will support such a move. Reporting in Lakewood, Emily Hamilton, News 5.